Ladies, let's be honest. Older men never cheat clumsily. In their 60s and beyond, they've lived, they've learned, and they're clever enough to cover their tracks, smiling at you as if nothing ever happened. And that's what makes them so dangerous. They believe that with just a few sweet words, a little flattery, they can make you trust them, see them as everything, while in reality, they're treating you like a fool. But the truth is, no matter how cunning they are, older men always leave signs. Signals that, if you're attentive, you can spot long before it's too late. Welcome to Journey After 60. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through 3 specific signs men often show before they cheat, so you can approach your relationships with clarity and confidence. If you notice any of these signs, don't panic, but don't ignore them either. This is your chance to speak up, set boundaries, and make sure your relationship is truly on the path of honesty and mutual respect. I know how painful this topic can be, especially for women who've been through betrayal, heartbreak, or even divorce. But my goal is not to scare you, it's to prepare you. You deserve to be loved with integrity, not taken for granted. And once you know what to look for, you'll never be played for a fool again. Before we dive in, I'd really appreciate it if you gave this video a like and hit subscribe if you haven't already. This is where we talk about real things: love, aging, self-respect, and becoming the most powerful version of yourself in your 60s and beyond. Together, we'll continue peeling back the layers of love, trust, and self-worth, one truth at a time. Because the first sign, it's the one most women dismiss until it's far too late. Number 1. Your man has a rebel spirit, but it's the dangerous kind. There's nothing wrong with being a little rebellious. In fact, you might be a bit of a rebel yourself, and that kind of energy can be incredibly attractive. But there's a specific kind of rebellion you need to be careful with. We're not talking about a man who walks his own path or builds something bold and new. That kind of rebellion is healthy, even magnetic. This one is different. It's the kind that bends the rules and expects others to pay the price for it. In his business dealings, for example, he doesn't mind if someone else loses as long as he wins. He plays to dominate. He cuts corners. He takes advantage. And he justifies it all by saying the outcome was worth it. He convinces himself he had valid reasons for why he had to win, why his actions were okay, no matter who got hurt. That's win-lose energy. And if a man thinks that way in other parts of his life, don't be surprised if he applies the same logic to your relationship. Because when things stop being convenient, or when he starts craving something new, he'll justify cheating in the exact same way, even if you're the one left broken, even if you were loyal the whole time. Now contrast that with a healthy rebel, someone who wants everyone to win while still expressing his freedom and uniqueness. That's rebellion grounded in integrity. So be cautious with a man who pulls you into his world while others get hurt in the process, whether emotionally, financially, or otherwise. The same mindset that allows him to cheat others for gain will one day allow him to cheat on you and justify it in his own mind. As the saying goes, character is what you do when no one's watching. Integrity is who you hurt or protect when you think no one will hold you accountable. If he lives in a world of me first, everyone else second, don't assume you'll be the exception forever. Eventually, you won't be. That's why you need to recognize the signs early. Don't brush it off as just his personality or excuse it because he's charming. Pay attention to how he treats people when there's nothing in it for him. That's often the clearest glimpse of his true values. Set boundaries early. If you see him cutting corners, justifying shady behavior, or celebrating a win that left someone else damaged, don't ignore that gut feeling. Ask yourself, if he can rationalize hurting others, what's stopping him from rationalizing hurting you? Finally, remember that you can't change a man's character for him. If his version of rebellion always costs someone else, your best protection is distance. Walk away before his me-first mindset puts you on the losing end. Because at the end of the day, love built on integrity lasts. Love built on excuses and justifications? That's a house of cards. And once you've seen that kind of mindset, there's often another shift that follows. Quieter, but just as telling. Number 2. Emotional withdrawal, when intimacy begins to fade. Love doesn't end in a single moment. More often, it fades in silence. Emotional withdrawal is one of the clearest and most painful signs that something is wrong in a relationship. It rarely happens overnight. Instead, it slips in quietly. Conversations that once felt warm become surface level. Affectionate gestures disappear, and your partner becomes what I call physically present, but emotionally absent. My friend Brenda once described it as a slow fading from her husband of 50 years, Thomas. It wasn't dramatic or sudden. It was like watching a photograph slowly lose its color. Thomas no longer asked about her day with genuine curiosity. Their evening talks, once filled with laughter and shared dreams, turned into logistical updates. The man who used to reach for her hand while watching TV now sat across the room, eyes locked on his phone. And most of all, he stopped opening up about his thoughts and feelings. There, but not really there, as Brenda said. Psychologist and philosopher Martin Buber once drew the distinction between an I-thou relationship and an I-it relationship. When someone starts investing their emotional energy elsewhere, they stop relating to their partner as a person to connect with, and instead treat them like a task to manage. The warmth, curiosity, and genuine care that once defined the bond begin to wither. This loss of emotional connection can be especially devastating after 60. At this stage, physical passion may soften, but emotional closeness often becomes the foundation of a lasting marriage. So when that bond starts to erode, it isn't just disappointing. It can signal that emotional energy is being redirected somewhere else. Of course, emotional withdrawal doesn't always mean infidelity. It can also point to unmet emotional needs, unresolved conflict, or built-up resentment. Sometimes it's a defense mechanism, a retreat from vulnerability, or a shield against the fear of rejection. The danger lies in silence. A marriage doesn't die from the absence of words on the lips. It dies from the silence of the heart. If you sense that emotional closeness is slipping away, don't ignore it. Begin an honest, gentle conversation. Try saying, "I feel a bit of distance between us lately. Can we talk about it?" Approach with curiosity, not blame, and be willing to share your own feelings openly. Have you experienced emotional withdrawal in a relationship after 60? If so, I'd love for you to share your story in the comments. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to reconnect with their partner. Because emotional distance rarely exists on its own. More often than not, it arrives hand in hand with the next warning sign, one that is less obvious and far more manipulative. Number 3. Subtle manipulation, when he makes you doubt yourself. This is the stage when a man begins to twist reality, shift the blame onto you, and skillfully flip the script until you start second-guessing your own memory, perception, and intuition. He wants you to believe you're being paranoid, overly sensitive, or unreasonably suspicious, while deep down you sense that something isn't right. I once heard the story of Evelyn, a woman in her 60s, who described how her husband often returned home late with vague explanations. Whenever she asked about it, he would lash back, "You're always doubting me. You never trust me." Rather than answering directly, he turned the spotlight onto her. Over time, Evelyn began to wonder if she really was too critical, too demanding, or too mistrustful. In psychology, this behavior has a name: gaslighting, a manipulative tactic designed to erode someone's judgment in their own. The deceiver weaves vague stories, details that don't quite match, and timelines that collapse under scrutiny. And when confronted, he doesn't clarify. He evades, deflects, or paints himself as the victim. This is especially dangerous after 60. At this stage of life, your intuition is not a weakness. It is the fruit of decades of experience. If someone repeatedly tries to make you doubt it, it's not because you're getting old and forgetful, as they may suggest. It's because they are deliberately trying to manipulate your perception. Here's what you must remember. If something feels wrong, it usually is. You don't need a signed confession to honor what your instincts are telling you. Your lived experience, emotional intelligence, and inner clarity are treasures you've earned over a lifetime. Don't allow anyone to diminish them. A loyal partner will hear your concerns and respond with honesty and transparency. A deceitful one will avoid, distort, or twist the narrative until you're left carrying the blame. The difference is clear if you give yourself permission to trust what you feel. Before we end this difficult but necessary conversation, I want to acknowledge the courage it takes to face these possibilities head-on. The 3 signs we discussed, the rebel mindset, emotional withdrawal, and subtle manipulation, are more than just red flags. They're tools to help you protect your emotional well-being and make clear, empowered choices for your future. If you're seeing these signs in your relationship, consider reaching out to a trusted friend, family member, or professional counselor. You don't have to navigate this alone. You deserve relationships built on honesty, respect, and mutual care. You're not responsible for someone else's betrayal, but you are responsible for honoring your worth and protecting your peace. The ancient Greek philosopher Epictetus once taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." In the same way, true freedom in love comes not from controlling others, but from honoring yourself. When you understand your value and refuse to shrink or be silenced, no one can play you for a fool. If this video helped you feel seen, supported, or simply more aware, please give it a like so more women can find this message. And if you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe, where we speak openly about love, aging, healing, and becoming the most radiant version of who you are. Thank you for joining me on this important and empowering journey. See you in the next video.